Welcome to Conversations with Chad, where we talk to industry leaders in music, entertainment, sports, and business. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Chad. On today's episode, I'm sitting down with a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame MC, leader of Public Enemy, one of the most iconic and prolific hip-hop groups in history, and is one of the grand architects of politically and socially conscious hip-hop music. Throughout his illustrious career, he has collaborated and worked on projects featuring Ice Cube, Ice-T, Be Real of Cypress Hill, Anthrax, the Beastie Boys, Spike Lee, KRS-One, MC Ren, and so many others. Please welcome the rhyme animal, Chuck D. What's good, homie?
Hey, Chad. Right now I'm driving 55 miles an hour, and I'm on the truck on the road, so that's I'm enjoying this time and space. But let's go.
In 1987, Public Enemy drops their first record, Yo Bum Rush the Show. 30 plus years later, your most recent project, What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down, comes out. How has your approach changed, if it has, to making albums or music now versus when you dropped that first record in 87?
Technology, of course. I think you already know all the different ways that I mean, in the beginning, you had to get permission to go in the studio. Now people have the studios pretty much in their phones. So I think the biggest thing in society is that people who were around 30 years ago, a lot of them are no longer around. And hence people also were born since that time who are now grown 30-year-old people in the mix. So that's the biggest difference, is that people have changed. Maybe not the situation so much, but the people have changed.
Now, on the new album, you have a dope lineup of guests featured on it. One collaboration that stands out is the one with Ice-T on Smash the Crowd. Talk to me about putting that record together and working with Ice-T.
It caught me by surprise when I was making the song. David C-Doc Snyder, the producer of the record, and also Flatline, Ned Warner, who also coordinates Rap Station. And Rap Station is our 10-station channel inter-network. They had gotten together about doing this feature, and they reached out to Iceberg and also Paris Smith. And we have a feature on our rap station called Hip Hop Gods. It's a station channel. It's a feature on my radio show. And what we do is we take classic hip hop artists and we continue to push them like classic rock. Do songs by classic artists. And they got in touch with them and got the feature to be on this particular song. And they tried to surprise me at the birthday gift. And also, that's how all the features on What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down, they happen to be quite organic. It wasn't like, we're going to put together an album with a whole bunch of features. It just happened to be that we make one song at a time, and at the end, when the dust settled, we saw, a lot of key friends and artists, great people of ours, strewn across these tracks in such an engaging way. So that ended up being a pleasant surprise. Run-DMC, Beastie Boys, Mike D and Anthrax, Daddy O from Stephen Sonic on Yesterday Man, The Fight the Power 2000, which actually was orchestrated by Questlove. So it ended up being an album that had a lot of fantastic features, and still pointing out things in the Public Enemy way.
Public Enemy #1 with Run-DMC and the surviving members of the Beastie Boys. Tell me about putting together that Def Jam reunion song and working with everybody on that.
Well, I turned 60 last year, and it was and I reached out to Run and DMC and also Mike D and Anthrax, because these are the guys that pulled me in because of Public Enemy #1, the original Public Enemy #1, and they were the ones that got it across. Jam After Jay and Adam Yauch, especially, would get it across to Rick Rubin. in their pursuit of me as a rapper inside their new pledges label Def Jam. So I kind of like did it full circle, reaching out. And the Beastie Boys have a pact that they wouldn't be actually out there recording, without MCA out, without Yao. But they agreed to do something that was different and catchy with the construction of the song. And then I was most pleasantly even surprised how energetic that run of Run-DMC was about getting on the record. Myself and DMC, we worked together with each other's projects all the time. So I was over the top, very enthusiastic about Run's contribution. And he said to me personally that energy re-energized him to get on the mic and do some incredible, happy things and rhyming in the booth again.
Jumping back to 1987 when Public Enemy dropped Yo Brum Rush the Show, walk me through you guys putting that together, signing to Def Jam, and putting out the classic Public Enemy #1 and My Uzi Weighs a Ton.
Well, I think it was an environment that we had on Long Island that embraced the whole Run-DMC in the beginning of Def Jam scenario, that instead of competing with that, they wanted us to be a part of their thing. We had to make concessions to become part of the Def Jam operation, and it only made the total thing even bigger and stronger. And Hank Shockley, Bill Stephanie, myself, Eric Vietnam Sadler, Keith Shockley, Flavor Flav, Buster Griff, myself, with a total team unit to try to be able to make people look at hip-hop and rap music as serious as they looked at Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And that's where that came from.
Looking back to when you first put out Yo Brum Rush the Show, did you ever envision the global and political reach that hip-hop would eventually have?
Of course. That's the only thing that made me want to do it. I said, I want to be able... I saw Run-DMC push the barriers to really seriously make rap seem as big as rock, whether it's live, whether it was through songs and video, like when they did Walk This Way and was in the video with Aerosmith. And I said, well, if we're going to up that ante, we're going to be the first hip-hop act that go around the world heedlessly. You know what I'm saying? We're going to take this and go around the world and be the most traveled hip-hop group ever, everywhere. So at the end of the day, our country road count is 116.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, on the follow-up album, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, you have the song Don't Believe the Hype. It's amazing how that's still such a relevant song, just like Fight the Power, 911 is a Joke, Shut 'Em Down, and others in the Public Enemy catalog. Talk to me about the significance of those records, both as it relates to its time period of release and how we're still talking about those same topics in today's atmosphere.
Well, it's about the attack of the isms. So racism, sexism, and all the other isms. They happen to permeate society. So what we try to do is make music and make songs that address these things, because these things are systemic. And that's what you want to attack. You want to attack these penetration in the systems. Because systems exist long after individuals or human beings do. So when they become institutionalized, you got to put in the effort to remove them. And our effort, of course, is cultural. Do a cultural effort to remove stigma of the isms.
With 1990's Fear of a Black Planet, one of my favorite records off that album was Burn Hollywood Burn, featuring Ice Cube and Big Daddy Kane. What's the story behind this record coming together and working with Ice Cube and Big Daddy Kane?
Well, Public Enemy always came down to like picking a topic that maybe was overlooked, or picking a topic that was definitely on the lips of everybody, but trying to find ways to address it. And my thing is, as a song and a topic, you want to address it culturally and musically. So it had been sticking around in my head for a long particular time. Every time I would look at these movies that nobody can vouch for that was derogatory and one-sided. And I pretty much would say, like, damn, you know, I'm gonna write an answer to this in a song. And I wanted to make a song where me and Kane Big Daddy Kane were on tour, and I would tell him, I said, that's the song I want me and you to do. So when it came down to finally doing the song, Ice Cube had just broke off of NWA and was hanging in the studio in New York City. The same studio where, you know, Studio B, had Sonic Youth, Kim and Thurston knocking out, you know, Goop. And that's why I got on Cool Thing. But it's the same studio also Ice Cube was hanging up in there as well. And when Big Daddy came down to the studio and we were mapping up the song, Ice Cube was on the couch. Cube looked at us and he said, I want to get on that. And me and Kane looked at each other, and then we looked over at Cube and said, well, hell yeah. That's how it became myself, Big Daddy Kane, and Ice Cube.
If you were asked to describe who Chuck D and Public Enemy are, what 5 records out of your catalog would you choose to showcase and why?
Public Enemy #1. Welcome to the Terror Dome. Don't Believe the Hype. I Shall Not Be Moved. Bring the Noise. I think they stick to the theme of saying who I am and leaving alone who I'm not.
And finally, after 30 plus years of making music and numerous albums, what is it about music that you love so much and what motivates you to keep doing it?
Best thing I love about music is that it drew like minds together. There's always the internet before the internet. And the beautiful thing about music and the beautiful thing about culture is that in my case, I had the rare opportunity to visit places that I necessarily probably would not have visited and find a commonality with people that was unique and unprecedented.
I want to end on this note. As an adopted biracial baby, kid, adolescent, teenager, and so forth, growing up in a white family where I had aunts and uncles who matter-of-factly asked my parents why they would adopt a quote-unquote nigger baby. Having people like you, Ice Cube, KRS-One, X-Clan, and more to kind of put the headphones on and know that I'm not the only one experiencing racism, hatred, discrimination. And you guys were so openly defiant about it, saying these positive messages and just kind of leading the way. That was really vital to somebody like me, and I just wanted to personally tell you thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I would like to say there's a glitch in human beings, but the thing about culture brings human beings together for our similarities and knocks all those differences and those constructs to the side. And that's why I dug it. That's why I dig it, man. You can move a mountain of emotions, man. It's something that touches somebody's heart.
Chuck, that's all I have for you on this one, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the Conversations with Chad podcast.
I appreciate it. Thank you, bro.
And that concludes this episode of the Conversations with Chad podcast. Be sure to check us out at chadkaiser.com. We'll be back soon. Thanks for listening. And that concludes this episode of the Conversations with Chad podcast. Be sure to check us out at chadkaiser.com. We'll be back soon. Thanks for listening.